We're joined by Dasha Smolentseva. She's the co-founder of Artisan Kombucha. She's an entrepreneur and a foodie with a passion for the local food movement as well as health and wellness. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you both the same question that I asked the guests in the previous segment. What does the miracle of food mean to you? What is your relationship with food? And maybe we can start with you, Dasha, because I know you've got a complicated cultural background coming from Russia. What was life like growing up for you in Russia? How was food treated and viewed, and how does it compare to your experience here in Canada?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Food in Russia is a very sacred element that brings together family, friends. We had a very limited supply of food from sort of external sources, so we had to grow a lot of our own food. Every family had a plot of land, and we would go on the weekend with my grandmother, with my aunties, and we would grow our food and bring it back home to the city. So relationship with food is very important for Russian people. I come from a culture of making everything yourself and as much as you can with your own hands. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. What was your question?
I have really severe IBS as well as a result of the IBS, diverticulitis. So I'm always worried about getting infections and stuff. Are there any foods that I can take that might actually help calm some of the problems in my stomach?
Dasha, from what I understand about kombucha, that's sort of right along the lines of what you do for a living, right?
Yes, kombucha is actually a very traditional beverage. It's been around for thousands of years. It is basically a sweet tea that is fermented with a probiotic culture. And this culture is something you pass along from generation to generation, something like yogurt. So it's made by inoculating a batch of sweet tea with the probiotic culture. And what this probiotic culture does, it breaks down the sugars into glucose, fructose, amino acids, probiotics. So it makes this beverage healthier for us. It helps us digest our food better. And it basically helps you ditch the soda, ditch the sugar-laden beverages that may be really hard on our digestion. And plus also the probiotics in kombucha will support your own personal digestion and add more of those digestive sort of enzymes to help you break down your food and overall feel more just vibrant and alive.
So it is a natural probiotic. It would be something that you'd recommend to someone with IBS or related conditions?
You know, that's a tricky question just because I always say go with your gut, go with how you feel. Try a diversity of foods and see how they feel on your own body, and that's what I would do. And because there's so many different foods that work for different individuals, and that's why we have a diversity of food. And encourage yourself to try different things and see what works and see what doesn't.
So you've brought in this amazing kombucha. Tell us a little bit about your business, how it got started, why kombucha?
Well, it's fascinating because, again, I was born in Siberia, in the Soviet Union, and my grandmother, on her shelf in the kitchen, had so many different cultures. She had the kefir culture and the yogurt culture, and she had the kombucha culture.
Everything made from scratch.
Everything made from scratch, and somehow I was the only kid or the grandkid that was super interested, and I would be there straining the cultures with her, making all these magical potions, and for me, I just thought, this is medicine, this is what my grandmother gives me and does. And so through all my life, everything I do really goes back to how I was, like the start, the beginning, how my grandmother taught me, how my mother taught me. And I'm so excited to see these traditional foods, nourishing foods, getting to the limelight, and people starting to use them, people starting to talk about them, people are incorporating them into their diet and lifestyle. It's phenomenal because it's not something new. It's been around for thousands of years. So
is it meant as medicine, or do you drink it every day?
So this is the interesting part about it. So again, traditionally, even tea was almost viewed as medicine. People had all these rituals around tea drinking, around their food. Everything was brought to you in a certain manner. These days, we don't always have time to follow a ceremonial, traditional way of drinking tea or making your food. So kombucha, the way we make it now, kind of speeds up that process in regards to easier access to a very traditional, good-for-you beverage that you can easily drink at your lunch, in your office. You can go on a picnic and have a kombucha. It's very now easily incorporated into your life.
What's interesting is that you're making this commercially available, but back home, it's not a commercial thing.
It's a staple. It's a staple.
Like everyone makes their own brand.
So every babushka on their counter had this mushroom growing, the kombucha, and we kids, we seriously, this was medicine. We treated it as medicine. However, again, because nowadays we've really improved the recipe, so we made it a lot more palatable. We're using these amazing local ingredients like the lilacs, we're using raspberries, we're using all these berries to make it more flavorful, more interesting, versus the potion that my grandmother made, which was very strong, vinegary, really hard to drink. You just had a little teaspoon, and that's probably all you could do.
Have you gone back home and tried to make it for your family back home, or how do you think it would be received?
Yeah, well, we talk about it all the time, and back home, my friends and my family, they just can't believe that something like kombucha is now like a big, almost like a hipster trend here in Canada. And it's so hard to explain it to them because for them, yeah, it's like a homemade food that's now all of a sudden on the shelves with beautiful packaging, and that's mind-blowing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is interesting. Mm-hmm. We actually have a caller on the line. John, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for watching. Did you have a question?
I do. Would you guys have any recommendations for whatever I can get that's more natural to help control my diabetes? I've reduced my sugar, but I'm also looking to something that could maybe help me get off of my medication.
Interesting. Any thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. So, beautiful question. For me, my medicine chest is really the farmer's market. I go to the farmer's market, and the seasonal, delicious, super nutritious bounty is right there in front of me, and you just go aisle to aisle picking out your medicine, whether it's the leafy greens or the berries, or the kombucha, or you're sourcing some grass-fed organic meats if you're a meat eater. So you look at food as your medicine. And that's how I would approach it. And the easiest way to do it is go straight to the producer, straight to the farmer, because they're growing in a clean, beautiful way, and you're getting the freshest, most nutritious food available.
So tell us, Dasha, about your kombucha. Tell us about the process that you go through making it. I know you've brought some for us to try.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's as simple as making the base, almost like if you're making yogurt. You inoculate a batch of sweet tea with this probiotic culture. You let it ferment for about 2 weeks. And then you can add a certain flavor. So what we do is like the spring rejuvenate right here. We added dandelion root, high mountain oolong tea, sage, mint, so all the local herbs.
Are you foraging those herbs yourself?
We are,
okay.
And also I'm working with a lot of other foragers and even organic farms. So Wild Oak Homestead in Almonds, they provide us with a lot of herbs. Then the lilac kombucha, this is the lilac blossoms, the beautiful purple flowers.
Yeah, they smell so beautiful.
They smell so beautiful, and we went harvesting them ourselves, and my kids were picking every little flower and putting it in a little basket, and then we went back to the brewery, and we took those beautiful flowers and infused them in kombucha, let it stand overnight, strain it, and then it creates this beautiful botanical floral aroma to it. And then same with raspberry hibiscus. Again, we take the organic raspberries, the hibiscus, and just infuse it, let the flavor sort of infuse in the kombucha. So you're not getting any extra sugar, you're just getting the flavor and all the benefits of the real, whole organic berries, flowers, roots.
It's like a drinkable dessert.
I'd like to try some.
Yeah. Hi, welcome back to Ottawa Experts. We're joined in studio by special guests Dasha Smolentseva and Jennifer Emmons. We're talking about how to use food as a gateway towards a healthier and more sustainable lifestyle. Dasha, you've brought in some of your wonderful kombucha for us to try. How do you say to your health in Russian?
Na zdarovye.
Na zdarovye. Thank you so much for bringing it in. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Here we're celebrating food and nature's bounty right here. I love it. We have a caller on the line. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for calling. Did you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering a little bit about, you were speaking earlier about kombucha, and I was wondering, I have done kefir culture before, growing and making my own yogurt, and I'm wondering about kombucha, the side of it, because I've never done it before. Could you tell me what the benefits would be and the differences? Especially for someone who would be struggling with maybe inflammation, which would be better, and in your opinion?
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Dasha?
This is an excellent question, and the answer that I usually give is that in general, you want to have a diversity of foods in your diet, just like you wouldn't just have apple or just raspberries for the rest of your life and call it quits. So this is my fruit intake. Probiotics is actually a huge field, and there's different strains of probiotics. There's the kefir strains, there's the kombucha, there's the yogurt, there's kimchi, sauerkraut. And what happens is when you put the diversity of these probiotics together, they actually all work in synergy to support your gut, to reduce inflammation. And the more of these fermented foods that you have in your diet, the overall better feeling you have. So kombucha is one of those vegan probiotics that are very easy to drink sort of on a daily basis. They require less maybe maintenance than a kefir beverage would, and it's so fancy to bring a nice beautiful bottle like this, let's say, to a dinner with friends and share it with everybody.
It's a very unique housewarming gift.
Yes.
And by the way, I had a sip while Jennifer was talking. It's delicious.
Yes. Yeah. So
doesn't taste like medicine at all.
Exactly. You can some people the new trend is kombucha cocktails. So you can add a little bit of gin or a little bit of wine, make it kind of spice up your life. So kombucha is that festive beverage that you can really share with people, and that's the beauty of it. But I do encourage diversity of fermented foods in your diet.
Thank you so much for calling in. Now, you mentioned that your grandmother had all these cultures, and you said that they were passed on from generation to generation. So was there a unique Smolentseva kombucha, like just for the family? What passed down?
There absolutely was, and something super fascinating. We work with a scientist from Arizona who just studies kombucha, and what he has found, very interestingly, is that kombucha culture, although it is the same in its DNA, it's actually very different. Russia to Canada to Brazil, it will adapt to the environment, even the environment of your kitchen. So the kombucha that I make is a little bit different from the kombucha my grandmother made, and that's why, again, the beauty of fermented foods. If you've ever heard of a San Francisco sourdough culture or the New York famous sourdough culture,
yes,
every place will create its environment for the beneficial probiotics that are good for us and that humans cultivate for our use.
Now, you offer kombucha on tap, and that's a really unique offering. Tell me a little bit about that. Where can we get some, and how does that fit into the zero waste movement that I know you're a big fan of?
Huge fan of the zero waste movement. I think we've all heard the statistics that only 9% of recycled material actually gets recycled in Canada. So for us, we've been passionate about using local ingredients, but also providing a way where people can refill their bottles with fresh, delicious, nutritious kombucha.
Pulled some pictures up here.
Yeah, this is the Carp Farmers Market in Ottawa, just the Carp exit, and you can come there every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., and you can get 8 flavors of delicious kombucha on tap. You simply bring your bottle, and we'll refill it with local. This is a rhubarb kombucha that we did. We really honestly use all the ingredients from the farmers markets and local. And just to throw out there, I actually calculated from January to today, we've helped save over 3,000 bottles from the landfill, and that's people coming with their bottles to refill kombucha. So 3,000 bottles saved from landfill. That's a very big number, and that's just a drop in the ocean. But imagine if it spreads. If we're refilling bottles, using our little bags when we're going to get the bulk greens, or we're reusing packaging, every little action like that helps the bigger picture.
Do you have a religious or a spiritual relationship with the food that you harvest and grow and make?
Yes, of course. Like most of us, I view food as medicine, but it also nourishes the soul. If you're going through hard times, or if you're feeling a little sad, you pour yourself a glass of kombucha, and it really, honestly, makes you feel a little bit just better about life. And most of my life is centered on making food, and I'm always thinking what could be the biggest benefit. And actually, even our logo, I don't know if you can see on our bottle.
It's on your apron too.
Yeah, it's
right?
on my apron.
Yeah.
So this is actually a traditional Russian pagan symbol of protection. And it's a protection of spiritual treasure, the same way that the kombucha for me represents protecting our gut, digestive system, but I also wanted to bring in this element of the spiritual protection, and people just seeing it, and maybe something awakens in their DNA to just resonate with that feeling of just protection and nourishment.
And you're also protecting the earth too through the measures that you're taking with the zero waste movement, and I love that. A few more seconds left, Dasha. Where can we find you? Where can we find your kombucha?
Come visit us in Perth, Ontario. It's a beautiful heritage little town, and we have 8 flavors on tap. We're the largest on tap refill station in Eastern Ontario. But I also would like to mention Urban Spice on Bank Street. They've been wonderful to us. They have a beautiful selection of on tap kombucha as well, and some other places you can find on our website.
Wonderful.